like and everything. But how did you enjoy the rains of Saturday and that of Sunday? I was wondering, I'm like, oh my God, whoever the angel is behind this, can we just tell him to switch it down a little bit? It's becoming too much. It was really
Yeah,
terrible on
right.
Saturday and Sunday as well.
Sunday didn't rain in my area, but on Saturday I was caught where it
Caught
was
up with the
raining. Yeah,
rain.
caught up with the rain. But then I think it's relatively good. The farmers will be
Yeah,
celebrating, and then
definitely.
people that hate heat with all their hearts, I'm sure
Yeah.
they're very grateful for
Good.
the coolness in the atmosphere to be able to sleep and go about their activities.
Mm.
Well, I think today it looks like we're expecting a lot of sun. It looks like
Well,
the stars, the sky shone.
the rain was just too much. The Saturday rain was just too
It
much.
must
But
have been really
I'm
heavy this way.
yeah, heavy this way. And then yesterday too, it rained. It rained not really heavy, but I don't think it just rained in Uyo. It rained in other parts because I had a friend coming in from Port Harcourt, and he was like, "Oh, it's raining" and all of that. So more like, but the question is it really? Are we really into the rainy season now, or we are going to, because of would we say climate change? Things have changed a lot more. Really gone into the rainy season, so we're expecting more and more rain.
I think from April we begin to expect more and more rain, but it's just that somewhere around I think it was March, even February, rain had already started falling.
Yeah.
I remember asking someone, "Hello, what's with the rainy season already?"
Hmm.
But like I think climate change to a very large extent affects how much of these rains that we are seeing, and then the tropics of the area that we are. This is quite
Exactly.
a
Like
riverine area.
swampy.
Yeah, so it's easier for the clouds to rise on this end and begin to fall. That's like my basic my basic knowledge of what is happening in the sky.
Yeah, definitely. And white and blue and white stripes this morning. I was asking you, yeah, behind, camera. I say, come on, what's up with both of us? But it's good. We are in the spirits, and of course, the rise and shining spirits. That's what we are having, and we also hope that you're having that same spirits this morning. Let's rise and shine together on the breakfast show this morning. A lot has been supplementary elections running through the gubernatorial races, and even the National Assembly, and of course the state houses of assembly where election, some polling units that election did not hold, on the 18th of March due to some kinds of, discrepancies and a lot of things that, must have caused that supplementary elections to hold. And one particular morning show this morning, but let's bring you some flash news as to what happened. Yeah, Dino Malaye will be fanning himself
Yeah.
and be giving some taunting, like Nigerians will say, getting his ring light ready and cameras ready to taunt
Nyesom
Nyesom
Wike.
Wike of Rivers State. Of course, last week we talked about how Nyesom Wike came out to say, like, look, Nyesom Wike is suffering from there's something
Yeah,
he
it's
said.
psychotic disorder.
Is it
Yeah,
fatigued? Is brain
yeah,
fatigue? Yes,
yeah.
I
It's
remember
like
now. He's suffering from brain fatigue. But here we have it. Dino Malaye, former senator, has been declared the winner of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) governorship primary election in Kogi State. Of course, he polled a total of 313 votes. Ted McCarthy announced the result on Sunday at the end of the indirect primaries held in Lokoja, the Kogi State capital. So we have that Dino Malaye have won. Let's not also forget that Kogi is one of the states that will be having the off-season elections.
yeah. A big congratulations to
Dino
Dino
Malaye.
Melai, because I mean, when you think of all the energy, like we said, that Nyesom Wike brought in the cross carpeting of, oh, he doesn't have the capacity, he shouldn't be given the flag to run the gubernatorial race. But you see, of his own accord, standing as the flag bearer for the Cuba race in Kogi State. A big congratulations there. We also saw in Bayelsa
Yeah.
State now, Timmy Perez Silva won the Guba ticket on the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Of course, Timmy Perez Silva is the immediate past Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, and that's a big win for Timmy Perez Silva. I remember having a conversation over the course of the week last week, and we are wondering, where do they go and where do they stop? You are a minister today, tomorrow you can come back and be a governor. Just move back to certain other positions. Where in his acceptance speech, he promised to address the endemic flooding challenge affecting the state if elected as governor in the November 11 poll. He also thanked the party Silver for his victory. They also pledged their support for his candidacy. So,
Silva's case brings to mind the fact that a lot of politicians just want to hold on to power for just too long. Remember that Silva has been governor of Bayelsa State before now,
yes,
from the
revenue
petroleum
sources.
now and all of that. So him coming back to become governor, some people will ask, what did he actually forget in Bayelsa State that he wants to, or the government house that he wants to go
I
pick
think
up,
it's the flood.
and all of that. But again, we are going to be seeing very interesting times. Because they have picked the ticket doesn't automatically make them the governors or the winners of the general election. It's just one step, towards the elections, the off-season elections that will be held on the
Especially
11th
if
of
we see the other
November.
political parties
Of course,
field
we've also
candidates that are strong contenders.
yeah.
If we see that coming, then we should expect some really tight race in
or contending for the seat of the governor in Kogi State. I would not like to divulge what he said, but of course it's going to be a very tight one for Dino Malaye as it is right now. And someone jested on social media yesterday and said, this one that Dino has won. I don't know if you've seen a picture of Dino's compound
Yeah.
before. Oh my God, there are just luxury cars everywhere. So somebody jested and said, oh, Dino is going to buy more fleets of cars and add to what he already has. But anyways, we'll just leave that as our flash conversations. We have another flash news. Of course, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, cancelled the Ikono in the federal constituency rerun elections in Akwa Ibom State due to violence. Now, the state INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner Reg Dr. Cyril Morugbe said this when he addressed newsmen in his office in bimodal voters accreditation machine system BVAS and others. According to him, I just want to give a brief update on what has happened on Saturday in the case of the rerun election. So at this point, we don't know. Obviously, there's going to be another rerun election because there has to be somebody representing that particular constituency at the National Assembly and all of that. But it just brings to mind, our focus conversation this morning that will be the outcome of the elections and, of course, the lessons learned so far. So far, so good. I don't think that now different polling units last week, Saturday, right? Where because of this issue of violence, same issue of violence. So can we ever have an election without violence?
That is repeated again when the you'd wish that the political parties at these levels will put their house in order, because I mean it's really wasteful for the state at this time and even the federal government to keep running supplementary elections because the last one cannot be upheld because of violence and other related issues.
Yeah.
So it's worrisome.
Very, very worrisome. Okay, that's it on our flash news. Let's go straight to our major stories. I'm particularly excited about this because a lot of Nigerians were looking forward to the elections in Kogi State. Don't forget also that when the elections held on the 18th of March, at the end of the day, it was said that Binani did not win that election. But how the congratulations actually went out is of so much concern to a lot of Nigerians today. The election was inconclusive at the end of the day, and we had the rerun in some local government areas where the Damawa State, and it calls for a lot of concerns towards the electoral process in Nigeria. And the question will be, can we ever get it right?
The questions are enormous. Giving a background to the drama that ensued in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa Ari, the resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC in Adamawa, stoked controversy in the state's governorship election. At around 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, the INEC rec announced Aisha Binani, Democratic Party, present at the State Collation Center in Yola. Before the collation exercise was suspended on Saturday night, results from 10 local government areas had been announced, and Binani was trailing Amadou Fintiri, the incumbent governor and PDP candidate. Now, the collation of results from the remaining 10 local government areas was expected to commence by 11 a.m. on Sunday. Mele Lamido, the returning officer for the Adamawa governorship election, was not present when Yunusa Ari announced Binani as the winner of the election. Now, Lamido is empowered by law to declare the winner of the election. Protesters described the declaration as illegal, saying it is against the guidelines of the Electoral Act. Now, let's give voice to these and, just hear it out as it happened.
Other players, the returning officer should be here. So let's we are not the returning officer, so there's no way. Why are you announcing the result? With all due respect. You with all due respect. The returning officer. No, you're not the returning officer. The returning officer is not here. Why are you not the returning officer? No, you're not the returning officer. No, our bosses are here. You're not the returning officer. Please. No, please. No, you're not the returning officer. Please. When is the returning officer? Let's be Almighty God. Let's be Almighty God. Let's be Almighty God, please. I respect you as a father. You cannot. I respect you as a father. Please don't do this. You cannot do this. Please. As a father. You are not the returning officer. You are not the returning officer. Wait for the returning officer. By law. Oh no. Oh. You are not the returning officer. I plead with you with all due respect. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Fear God. You are not the returning officer. You are fasting. You are fasting and Almighty Allah is watching you. You are not the returning officer. You cannot be the result. Almighty Allah is watching you. You cannot be. Fear Allah. You cannot. Fear Allah. You cannot. It's unfair. There's nothing at home. There's nothing at home. Fear Allah. They cannot be return. What are you saying? I just don't want to. You cannot. No. No. Let's go. There is a God. No, there's nothing like that. It's not fair. It's not fair. No, you are not. No, it can't happen. This is not fair. You cannot call it result. No, because someone like the APC support the highest vote. No. How? Thank you very much. How?
Very serious situations there. At this point, we would say that this is very shameful of a country like Nigeria that have grown through the rank and files of democracy. 23 years down the line, we've had several elections, and we still cannot get it right when we talk about the electoral process in the country. We have not even finished talking about the presidential elections of February 25 and all the discrepancies and irregularities that was made by that particular election. And here we are again. It was something of joy if at the end of the day, the elections in Adamawa State was very free and fair and very transparent to everyone to see. And then we have Binani come up as the governor of Adamawa State. After all, a lot of people were rooting for her, as going to be the very first elected governor as the rec to come announce that result. Binani went on to give her acceptance speech, and I think at this point we'll just take a listen to this.
President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, you have made history in electing the first presidency. President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, you have made history in electing the first female governor in our country, Nigeria. This will no doubt broaden political participation by encouraging our daughters, sisters.
It's surprising. Of course, the controversy is rising on several quarters. First of all, PDP is accusing, the APC and Aisha Binani when I read it, I was like, okay, but it doesn't really make sense. Why are you concerned that she had an acceptance speech ready? Either way, everyone going to the polls and have put in the work will have their acceptance speech ready if they were announced as winners. So the problem is not that she, actually gave an acceptance speech. It is on the premise which you gave the, acceptance speech.
Exactly. You're not supposed to give
10
an
local
acceptance speech
governments,
coming from
yes,
that
the
kind of
controversy is
declaration.
too much. 10 local governments left to be announced. The
Yes.
announcement was made by someone who is not backed up by the law to do so. And you can even see the kind of violence that broke out. I mean, it's the violence that broke out in Adamawa State is too graphic to be put on television, that so that people can just relate with what happened as a result of that announcement made. Like you were raising, it's troubling for you to begin to paint Aisha's win, question her win, because it now looks more like there's a desperation on her party's side to ensure that she's the one announced as winner. Of course, there are allegations that the rec who announced the result must have been paid by her party to
Of
do
course,
so.
yes. There are those informations,
Exactly.
everywhere.
Yeah. So when you put yourself in that bridge, you're cutting down the credibility of Aisha Binani.
Of course, yes.
Even if she is the desire of the people, you're gradually making it hard for other members, of the society, Nigeria at large, the international community, to think that she's credible enough for the position.
If she's credible enough, then some of, for her to have that power as the next governor of Adamawa State, she's doing that, to the detriment of the electoral process itself. And of course, we've seen that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has suspended that particular collation of results in Adamawa State supplementary elections overall. They're saying that, of course, the REC announced Aisha Binani Dahiru, candidate of the All Progressives Congress, as the winner of the elections. His announcement has elicited protests from members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The electoral umpire made the announcement, of course, in a statement signed by its spokesperson Festus Okoye on Twitter on Sunday morning. I think at this point, this is just what is supposed to be done by INEC, calling the REC and the presiding officer to, order in terms of with regards to this particular election. But what I would say in totality is that, look, what happened in Adamawa State is totally shameful. And when we talk about being a slap on democracy, this is a huge slap on democracy. Why not allow the process go free and fair? Why all the rigging? Why all the violence and all of that as well?
It's
really
literally
pathetic.
dragging the system backwards. And like we said earlier, there is a problem with the facts were, declared inconclusive because of certain discrepancies. They came again this past weekend, and still the same reasons. There is an early announcement of Aisha Binani as the winner. Why not wait for the entire process to be rounded up? I mean, it was the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the just concluded leg of presidential elections that has said, the process that leads you to be referred to as Your Excellency must be seen as excellent, but it looks like we are toying with some of these things. Like I earlier said, this is watering down the credibility of Aishatu's credibility for the seat of the governor. Why not wait? 10 local governments is the least, that should be your worry. And if the win was already giving a lot of gap with the results that they used to announce you, why not rest? And this brings a lot of questions to the APC are the ones that are going to be elected, not elected now, commissioned into office to rule. They are still the ruling party. To what extent are you making sure that you have more state in your coffers for governors? It reeks bad for APC even at the national level. Speaks a lot of APC in Adamawa State. Let's not even forget that the presidential candidate of People's Democratic Party in Adamawa, he has called for INEC to do right by the process and the guidelines for the elections, as it were. Several statements have been given by spokesperson for the People's Democratic Party. first of all, we knew that the race between Fintiri and Binani, someone
Not even certain things he has done in the state, but the power of incumbency,
Yeah.
you know, it can upturn a lot of things to his favor. And so, of course, we expected a very tightly contested election in Adamawa State. But coming from the background of APC and all the squabbles, what gives us Nigerians you know, the assurance that you're actually coming to office to
serve the
serve
people.
You're not coming to serve, because even the process of you getting into office was rigged. You know, whether presidential or gubernatorial or national assembly or even state assembly, whatever it is that you're seeking for, so far as the process to your getting there was rigged, you're definitely not coming to serve anybody.
Definitely not. Well, at this point, we'll just leave the conversation to rest at that point. INEC has said that particular election stands, you know, cancelled. That particular
Null and
announcement
void.
next. Are we looking at the fact that there'll be no elections carried out in those areas?
Of course, they
again,
can't. There
or
will be
INEC
elections.
will have
Yes.
to run again.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a lot of logistic loss. Manpower time is wasted. We are not making progress. You know, it makes us count more states that will now be included in off-cycle and off-season elections.
Yeah.
Is this what we really want as a country? Several issues around, you know, the Adamawa state election at this time, but we really scrutinize the process of, you know, the just concluded cycle of elections in Nigeria. The conversation seems not to be leaving us anytime soon. So do stay with us. After this, we're going straight now to Mary Joseph, who's on standby to bring us the news brief. And when we return, Rise and Shine continues.
heads of state and government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
Disastrous day in Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to recover from the lives in the state and still counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Zulum and Mala Buni, respectively, as well as Katsina State Governor-elect Diko Rada. Reports say the Buhari met the governors at the Maka Guest Palace, also received updates from some Nigerian government officials on situations back home, including Saturday's supplementary elections in parts of the country. Meanwhile, the ruling All 60. Similarly, the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, won 3 additional senatorial seats, resulting in a total number of 32 seats from the earlier 29 seats in the 10th Senate. Away from that, INEC has annulled Binani's declaration as governor-elect Adamawa State, noting that the Resident Electoral Commission in the state usurped the returning officer's power. This is as the electoral umpire is set to meet over the matter today. Recall that opposition parties and non-governmental organizations on Sunday took a swipe at the Adamawa State President's Electoral Commissioner, Hudu Lusana, for usurping the duties of the state governor on Saturday and Sunday, with at least dozens of civilians and soldiers reportedly killed. The World Health Organization had said that at least 83 people have died and 9,126 others have been injured in heavy fighting in Sudan between the army and the influential parliamentary Zone 3 phase after defeating Benin Republic in Accra, Ghana. The winning means Nigeria has qualified for the IHF Women's Trophy Continental Phase. Reports say Nigeria won 4 matches without losing any game in the competition. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news.
Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
Disastrous day in Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to recover from the lives in the state and still counting.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors for your desired on and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the questions to thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Story. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth.
Thank you so much for still being there, of course, in Nigeria and across the globe as well. But to keep you up to speed with some of the very interesting conversations we've had so far, of course, off-season elections in Kogi State. Dino Malaye has actually won the ticket under the People's Democratic Party, while in Bayelsa we saw Timi Silva, former Minister of Petroleum Resources, clinching the ticket under the All Progressives Congress in Bayelsa State. And then the big one, of course, the major stories, which we also have the REC of INEC in Adamawa State declare Aisha Binani as the winner of that election, which was actually contradicting to the ethics of INEC. Of course, we saw that INEC has cancelled that particular elections, and where we get Nigerians talking as well, sharing their opinions and telling us how they feel about some of the issues that we will raise on the front pages of our national daily. So it's Daily Spotlight at this moment.
Daily Spotlight, bringing you news from across the front pages of our national dailies. Let's move straight to Daily Sun. And looking at the front page of Daily Sun this morning, the very big story there says striking workers cripple airport operations. All airports grounded as unions begin warning strike today. That's a massive problem already. LP crisis deepens as two Guber candidates emerge, urge CBN. APC's Idris wins Kebbi Guber poll. Tambiwal Wamako wins Sokoto Senate seat. Federal government awaits legislative approval to disburse $800 million to vulnerable Nigerians. Rivers community deserted over shooting of soldiers. Rifles, uniforms carted away. We also see here UBA group posts today in Kaduna. Gunmen killed 22 in southern Kaduna. Government confirms attack. Very sad story right there. Tension in Adamawa over Guba results. INEC grills REC, who declared APC candidate winner, voids announcement to give final word today. Confusion shows shambolic nature of 2023 polls, says article. Oh yeah, that was something, I was even going to come to.
Yeah.
IPOP, no threat to 2023 census in Southeast, says NPC. And that's all the stories that we have on the front page of Daily Sun.
Okay, let's quickly look at our very next paper now, the Nation newspaper. Of course, the big story on the Nation Adamawa Rex action to decide governor-elect tomorrow. And then PDP, Atiku, others cry foul. Okay. Another story here says APC controls Senate with 59 seats, PDP 36, Labour Party 8, NNPP, SDP 2 each, ABGA, YPP 1 each. Investors lose 601 billion naira in 4 days. Chidi Amuta got it all wrong on Obi, says Alake. We have that UBA raised profits to 61.4 billion naira in first quarter. Jais Bank grows profits by 68.5%.
Moving on from the Nation, we're going to be looking at Nigerian Tribune. The big story there says, as INEC voids announcement of Binani, PDP demands arrest of Adamawa REC. We also see here, bandits kill 22 in fresh attack in southern Kaduna. Irate youths kill 1, set 64 houses ablaze in Bauchi. NDLEA arrest Lekki businessman over illicit drugs from US. Intercepts drug consignments in winter jackets, body lotion at Lagos airport. Malayi wins Kogi PD South Senatorial District. senatorial seat rather. We also see here, it's okay, just some words about the election, I guess. When you pick up the Nigerian Tribune, you see there, it's even more absurd that the Adamawa state reg did not only usurp the powers. UBA Group post 47.5% growth in gross earnings. Profits hit 61.4 billion. We also see here tax hike will bring hardship to individuals, businesses, NECA warns. Court disposes first-class traditional ruler in Ondo 5 years after installation. His action provocative, says Fintiri. We're going back to the Adamawa State, the Electoral Act, and other laws. Of course, picture stories there. And that's basically all that we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, very well then. We go straight now to the Punch newspaper where the big story says Binani declares 36 months imprisonment. INEC annuls Binani's declaration as governor-elect, says Rex usurps returning officers' power. Atiku, Fintiri, PDP kick. Adamawa APC hails Binani as supporters jubilate. Okay, we also have that aviation unions to ground flights airports today. That's quite a sad story. Moving forward, Nigeria's 96% revenue used to service debt in 2022, says World Bank, and we keep borrowing. Yeah. Moving forward, Buhari meets governors, EFCC chair others in Saudi Arabia. Gunmen abduct Ogun traffic official on Lagos-Ibadan expressway. Flood sweeps 4-year-old baby away in Lagos. That's quite a sad story. Lagos, Ondo, Bayelsa lead states in rising inflation. And that's all the stories that we have on the front page of The Nation. Of the Punch newspaper, I beg your pardon.
To take our very last paper for this morning, we look at the Vanguard newspaper, and the big story there says Adamawa Guba Po. Drama as reg fights returning officer over declaration on provocative. Buhari should intervene, says Fintiri. We also have here Fintiri 1, PDP insists, dismisses purported declaration of APC's candidate, demands arrest of reg. OPS rejects IMF's tax increase call, says prescription will kill businesses, worsen poverty, insists Nigeria doesn't need $800 million loan for subsidy removal palliatives. Labour Party crisis, NLC seeks interpretation of 2 court orders. Okay, years. Withdraw 47 billion naira from pension fund to cushion impact. Economic shocks, Japa syndrome, failing job losses, pension operators. UBA's profitability rises by 38.2% to 61.4 billion naira in Q1 of 2023. Olu of Wari decorates Oma Enyenwoma as new Olobotsere. Ayiri kicks, says he returned fake bead and sword. Okay, that's a serious story that's brewing right there. We also have here fuel subsidy. IMF reluctant to interfere with Nigeria's decision. Feared killed, scores injured as bandits attack Zango Katav local government in Kaduna State. We also have here Osimhen makes U-turn and says he's happy at Napoli. Of course, that's a sports story right there. And that's all we have on the front page of the national dailies. This was Vanguard. And of course, big stories breaking across the front pages of our national dailies. Serious issues.
Yeah, definitely serious issues there on the front pages of our national dailies. It cuts across from the aviation sector to even the economy, where we talk about too much of borrowing and what that causes, and also talks about unemployment rates that in our states and even Akwa Ibom state here, where we had supplementary elections run, and of course off-season elections when we talk about Kogi and Bayelsa state. But at this point we just open up our phone lines, let Nigerians have their say, make their contributions and, of course, their opinions. And if you're just joining us, you know very well that you can be a part of the conversation by going to a social media page.
Enjoy getting this great information from. Yeah.
But do well to call us, please. Be a part of our conversation this morning. We need to hear from Nigerians, especially as to what is happening in Adamawa State, and of course the insecurity that is growing. I knew that Nigerians were waiting for this opportunity. Let's take this first call. Let's take our first caller for the morning.
Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Sonny. I'm calling you from Benin.
Okay, Sonny from Benin. Go ahead.
Yeah. I tell you, I've been very sad since yesterday. I have said before that never you feel sorry for politicians. The reason is because they are desperate. Whether at Adamawa yesterday, you will realize that we were reminded about what happened to Rubebe and Jega. When the man was saying that that result must not be called for the national, the general election. We have said before that somebody will not need to come from America to come and rule Nigeria. The same way we got to where we are right now, we got to this place by systemic failure, little compromise, little lie, little disobedience to constitutional authority, disregard for our national constitution, disobedience to the laws of the land. I'm in a hurry. Let me just beat traffic light. We'll not take anything. Oh, I have this debris. Also come out. We also need to take systemic steps, deliberate steps, to say, no, I will not beat traffic light. I will not destroy my environment. I will not lie. I'm going to take steps to do what is right. I'm going to obey the Constitution. If we all do all that, both the politicians and those who are hoping to come into political office, that is how we will salvage our situation in Nigeria today. Because if we are talking about what happened in Adamawa, you look at the Labour Party that we're looking at the third phase that will save Nigeria. National chairman already have issue, removed from office by his people. Now you now have to two primary yesterday, parallel primaries. The same Labour Party. So you now follow that we have problem in Nigeria. We must accept that we have a situation. And the problem is that how do we solve it? Because governance exists solely for the sake of the people. So without the people, how many people are going to give up today? And the president is in Saudi Arabia receiving a politician. Does people actually count to us? The right that decide to call result when he compromised the process. What does he think he was going to get? The man that start to drive a machine streaming naked. What was he thinking to do? Because everybody is desperate. So I want to beg Nigerians. We need Nigeria first. We need our various states first. We need our various local government first before any political office you want to attain. Otherwise, what we are seeing right now is child's play. So I hope we will take this in serious and do what is needed so that we will not become a laughing stock in the international community. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Sonny. God bless Nigeria.
That was actually very deep, you know.
A lot of revelation. Yes. If we have to first be
systemic failure.
Yes. And people of my car window, you know, I'm the person who's just doing all kinds of things, and then tomorrow I'll go and seek a political office. Rule yourself, get your discipline right before stepping out. Like you rightly said, you know, rather, you know, there's some conversation around desperation of these politicians and their followers for certain states, and it's really, really, you know, a matter of concern at this time. A lot of things that Sonny has said that is worthy of note.
Yeah, definitely worthy of note. Let's take our next call. Hello, good morning.
Okay, that's a drop call. Do well to call us on the phone lines displayed on your screen. Please, when you want to call us, remember to turn down the volume of your television set. If we are experiencing a congestion, you can send us WhatsApp or text messages, and we will still take your contribution. Several things we are looking at the just concluded supplementary elections in Adamawa State that once again has been declared null and void by INEC because of certain things that happened there. Of course, we had a reg who is not vested with
backed by law, by the
backed by law.
Constitution and the Electoral Act to
To
declare
make
such announcement.
Of course, before the collation was even completed, he made the announcement. That has caused a lot of uproar. That's something we are looking at this morning when Nigerians get to call, and several other issues of interest on the front pages of our national dailies.
Yeah, definitely. And it's quite also very pathetic to see what is happening, in Imo State in terms of the elections, the Labour Party and all of that, having factions and then coming up with two candidates and all of that. We've had several conversations on the lines of this, saying that some Nigerians have actually said that, the PDP will no longer become, like the major opposition party now to the leading All Progressives Congress, but we have the likes of a Labour Party that is coming up very, very stronger, and all of that. But seeing what's happened in Imo State, I don't know, it's like tearing the party apart and not giving them that stance, that they had before this time.
Well, one would also think that this might be a calculated attempt to distract the Labour Party, because what's with the new factions and uprising? These are things that were, prior to this time heard in other political parties. But since the Labour Party seemed to have found a platform of strength and relevance, you're now hearing that you now have unscrupulous elements within the faction, within the Labour Party trying to faction. What's with now having parallel primaries and emerging as Guba candidate for the party in the same state? So one would also think that this is an attempted effort to derail the energy that was brewing on the Labour Party. But I think the major problem starts with the fact that seemingly out of nowhere, the national chairman, the likes of Peter Obi, put the house together and let them sort that particular position out. Yes.
Let's take our very next caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
It's Tony is calling from the party in Nigeria. Is that there is some people that will come from APC who will plant in Labour to destroy Labour. And PDP may plant some people in Labour to destroy Labour. And it has happened in party in Nigeria. You remember the case of Amadou Sherif. Amadou Sherif then was a member of PDP and is part of APC. And then anything doing in PDP that are having a position thing then. And it can happen in Labour Party. So in Nigeria that we are living in, politicians can do anything to be on power where they are. And that is their character. And it is now less for Labour Party and for the Adamawa problem. I think what the National Assembly will be doing now is to find how President will not be appointing the national chairman of INEC. And then seeing that INEC is completely independent. Remember when they are selecting the REC, the people are opposing some people that are bringing as REC commissioners in states. And this is what is playing on the ground today. Some REC commissioner belong to a particular party indirectly. And then when they have aims that they want to achieve, they knew that it is only less for
returning officer
coalition person to announce it. He came there and with a written this thing and start doing it in the name that go to court. Even when you are doing evil in Nigeria, go to court. Because they know in court they can use the technicality and then achieve what they want to achieve. It's quite unfortunate. Number one thing that needs to be done now is not election. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you so much, Tony Eze. Yeah, serious concerns being raised that is INEC even independent in the first place when you have a lot of RECs, being involved in the political process in terms of even collecting, bribery and all of that and trying to influence the decision of the people. But let's take this other call.
I want to say that I agree with the last caller from Benin State.
Tony Eze.
But the only issue is like there's a saying in our language in Edo, when if there is no hole in the wood, ants will not enter inside. So I think that the Labour Party needs to put it out in order. Because if somebody sets a trap for you to destabilize you, it's also important that you need to put your house in order so that you will not fall into the trap. I remember if you were in Benin, for example, this Saturday, there was also a supplementary election for 3 senatorial districts or 2 senatorial districts and 2 local governments. You could see the desperation of a governor, of political followers and all that. We must win to have the majority. So I think that what we need to do, we need to also put our house in order. If Labour Party can actually become the number one that people can look forward to or depend on, we need to put the house in order because Mr. Obi alone cannot do all that. So I think that the nonsense that Labour Party need to put the house in order. It is too early for you to have division, and like the scripture says, a house that is divided against them cannot stand. If this is the way of APC or PDP, then they need to ensure that they give no place to the devil so that when the devil comes, they will resist him. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Sunny from Benin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll also keep extraing some of these conversations because it just has to play in line with all of the things that we are going to be having as our focus conversation. The elections so far, have we learnt any lessons from the electoral processes that have happened so far in the 2023 general elections? This will be our focus conversation when we do come back from the break. Just stay with us.
Nigeria. Of course, we bring you topical conversation of serious issues happening in Nigeria. This morning, we've seen several things happening from Adamawa State, the just concluded cycle of supplementary election, and the just concluded election. We have a great personality on set to have this conversation with us this morning, and in the person of Sir Leonard Onyogo, who is a public affairs analyst, legal practitioner, member of Chatham House, London, Secretary, Cross River State, Elder
Janice and Oyai. Good morning, viewers.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful to be here. I trust I can say thank you for the services you render to humanity, and I can always pray that Spectrum will go higher and higher. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I said it.
Yeah.
The governor of Akwa Ibom State. Lovely. I mean, this alone should attract all the development down here, but it's quite commendable. I'm sure in no distant time the road will be done. We are going to add some voice to that.
We're happy that you're here. We're happy to have you on our set live. I know that you've spoken to us before, but over the phone, you know, joining your voices to some of the major issues happening in the country. And today we are looking at the outcome of the twins on the 11th of November. We've also had supplementary elections across polling units that were also declared inconclusive, and we've seen the violence that has also, you know, been associated with some of the supplementary elections, and of course the drama in presidential elections, to the March 18 gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections, and even to the one that we just had on Saturday. What would be your perception towards the 2023 general elections?
Well, additional due to Lagos, Port Harcourt, and I'm here too. And basically, elections in Africa generally, of course, Nigeria, you know, Nigeria is as a member of the Chatham House, discuss Africa. You cannot discuss Africa without Nigeria. So basically, the world look up to Nigeria for leadership. But I was while I was sitting before this studio, I was watching the news. The headline: general election has almost come and gone now. There was high expectation. You know, every election cycle was supposed to have improvement from the previous experience transmission that was captured by the new Electoral Act 2022. I'll try not to speak law so much so that the viewers can go, but the Electoral Act, the Constitution, these are the principal legislation governing elections in Nigeria, and has clearly stated how these elections are to be conducted. But they are punished for them. Here in Nigeria and some other African countries, let me be very fair, you know, people do all sorts of things without deterrence. And I keep saying in different forums that laws without the sanction aspect of it is just bet that governs our activities. But we have seen this, we have enough laws in the country already, but we do not have the political will to implement the laws, and that's why people can do all sorts of things. I mean, the drama that is happening in Adamawa State, I've had a lot of calls from outside the country, and you know, I was having those kind of Zoom interview, like, what is happening? You know, these things keep happening that way. You know, I can come here and say, look, I'm the owner of SpectrumTv, and nothing happens. You know, because there's no deterrence, there's no punishment for those claims and those aberrations. You understand? So when you don't have those things, people just do all sorts of things and go scot-free. And sincerely, I will tell you, even as a legal practitioner of so many years standing, the legal system in Nigeria is supposed to be very punitive enough. It's supposed to be like a deterrent so that people are scared of even going to court. Well, how come that we'll do all sorts of things and then we'll tell us to go to court? I won't be surprised if at the end of the day, that it's very possible. They are going to review it, but it's possible to say, okay, an announcement has been made. Of course, you know that the returning officer is not the resident electoral commissioner. There's a returning officer for that election. Based on the INEC rules and other extant laws, there's supposed to be a returning officer. But the question will be that some people argue that, okay, if the returning officer assuming he doesn't want to do his duty, can they wreck? These are questions that people now bring in, and that's okay. Let us go in. The other side of the story is that, assuming the returning officer, generally speaking, is not, he doesn't want to perform his duties, or is prevented from performing his duties. So what happens?
But was collation done?
It was not. It was not done. So there was that issue. I'm not trying to put the other side of the divide, because there have been argument that way too. That it was not around. And
people will try to explain.
Well, we want to see the outcome of this review. As we speak, I think INEC is on that matter to come out with official statement. But the question is this: have there been enough deterrence, enough punishment for people that offend the land?
So since you've taken us to the side of, questioning, when we hear, it's something we really heard during the collation of the presidential election. If you're not satisfied with the process, go to court. That was something that, INEC chairman himself, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, continued to use those lines. There's a big question when we're talking about the process of how the election was, because to a very large extent, it feels like Nigerians are disgruntled over the process of the just concluded election. And the last hope of the common man is the court as it stands now. Can we trust the judicial system of our country?
We will still have to trust the judicial system in the country. If you look at the hierarchy of court, for the governorship elections, it starts with the election tribunal, goes to Court of Appeal, and then Supreme Court. Presidential starts with the Court of Appeal, and then ends at the Supreme Court. We still have to give the judiciary, we still have to have faith in the judiciary. Of course, I'm also aware that there have been decisions, or some decisions of the Supreme Court, that the general public don't really understand why these decisions went the way it went. But let us get something right. The judiciary or the court, it's not there to manufacture cases. It's depending on the presentation and the fact before the court. But basically, before we go to court, let us try to get the rules. Let us follow the rules. If we follow the rules, we'll be happy. In fact, we have almost 5,000 cases so far in this election petition tribunal. Some of us thought that it's almost opposite of it, because there have been serious violations. But let me quickly say something. One of the major problems we have in Africa is political instability, mostly caused by legitimacy of elections across the West African sub-region, and even in Africa generally, and Nigeria is not an exception. Where the legitimacy has been questioned, the people have less faith. The basic difference between democracy and any other form of government is the legitimacy of the election. Otherwise, we have other forms of government. Now, if the legitimacy of this election has been questioned, and of course, I know the expectation of a parent decision that everybody will like, okay, this is why the decision went one way or the other. The reason for the decision is called ratio dissidendis. Sorry, let me not talk too much law now. But then you see that we need to be very careful as a country. Most of this conflict we have is as a result of the inability of somebody, and there's a punishment session for it, and you are not punished. You have the audacity and the temerity to keep slapping everybody in the money. The difference between law and morality is that there's sanctions in law. If I can come to this studio, if I want to be rude, I will not greet you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if I come to this studio and harass you, there's punishment for that. So we need to.
Now, when we keep talking about political will, we begin to ask questions. Why don't we even have the political will to do what we're supposed to do?
Exactly. In the Nigerian constitution, there's provision for an attorney general and minister of justice in the country now. The appointer is the president. Of course, it's going to send it to the Senate for confirmation of ministers. Now, if the body language of my appointer is now, there have been this argument that let us separate that office. Let the Minister of Justice or Commissioner for Justice be purely political, while the Attorney General is the chief law officer and is immune from political interference. You understand? So those are things that we'll look at it and say, okay, going forward, these are things we have to
execute. Some of these offenders still lies on the buck of the president.
The president or the governor of the state, if he directs otherwise. Because if I'm the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, or Attorney General or Minister of Justice, for instance, and Mr. President is not interested in any particular case, there's nothing I can do. That is the fact. We must face the fact. We must tell ourselves the truth. There's nothing to sugarcoat anything any longer. So I personally believe that the office of the Attorney General should be different from the office of the Minister of Justice or Commissioner for Justice. Can be tried. But we don't have great institutions in this country. Independent institutions. What we have is that we have the whims and caprices of individuals. It is rated, of course, in my global discussion, Nigerian president is one of the most powerful presidents in the world. Not because he has so much, because of the financial autonomy you control, financial power. Because, look, if you pay the bill, you dictate the tune. You know, so we must have to make the institutions to work, and the institutions have to be independent.
Cry that INEC flouted a lot of the guidelines that were, put on paper for them to follow for the elections. For instance, everybody celebrated the introduction of the BVAS machine, the technology that was meant to be all the difference we
And
needed.
even the
BVAS machine, certain systems that were in broad daylight flouted. Dino Melai, cried out during the collation in Abuja and said, this is not the system that we had all agreed we were going to work upon.
voting in Ekiti State.
And then Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said, we are going to continue with the process of collation, after which, if you have a problem with that, go to court. So let's talk about the fact that guidelines on paper, Electoral Act, etc., INEC did not follow through. Where does that leave us as a country with the just concluded cycle of election?
We had a lot of expectations. I was in the fund. Apart from the publication, there was an official press statement, but I had one-on-one engagement with him too, and he said, I asked him this question, that where there's disparity between the electronically transmitted result and the manual collation, which one supersedes? And he clearly told me that it's the electronically transmitted result. Now, we have results from the polling units. If you key in from their installation, we're going to see all the results from the polling units. For instance, my polling unit is 007 in Alifokpa Yache, the local government. Now, if you want to know my result, my polling unit, just to key in, and then you see the result displayed. But what we had, that wasn't the case. We had the polling unit results most time different from if it was even transmitted at all.
Yes.
Completely different. But this case I have to be very careful too, because these matters are in court. We want to see that the court, at the end of this, between the electronically transmitted result and the manual collation, the manual result, that the electronic one supersedes.
But how does the electronic one supersede, what was written down at the center? Because we are talking about, now let's just do layman conversation, for instance. The results have been collated at the polling unit. Between, the journey from the polling unit to the INEC headquarters in the local government to be able to transmit, what is the guarantee that the numbers that were imputed into the machine that is,
case you are saying, but I don't want to go too deep because these matters are in court. Let me see how the court will come out with decision.
So our last hope,
or the presidential election, apart from maybe the National Assembly and the State House of Assembly that ends at the Court of Appeal. Now, what we have is that at the polling unit result, if the polling result, for instance, let's say there's a polling in this station now, and the vote there is 20. Now, server, but if you go to the server, most time the result is not even there whatsoever. That's why I say this matter is in court. Let us see the failure of that transmission. Will it affect substantially the outcome of the result? That is the question for the court to decide. Okay. But when you have the result 20, and then you now see the polling that is 20, or the result that is at the server that is 45, depending on the divide. So that's why I say these cases are very technical. The court will come out one way or the other. But I want to call on the Nigerian judiciary, which I'm proudly a practitioner. I mean, to meet the expectation, everybody can be compromised. But I can tell you that there are a lot of lot of men in the judiciary that can stand out, and I believe that the judiciary, men of honor, still exist in the judiciary, and they will come out with justice of the case. I mean, justice is supposed to be manifest. Let us see it happen. Let us see why decisions are taken the way it is taken. And of course, justice is not just for the victim; it's also for the society. And even also for the person that is accused. So it's a tripartite way. Let us, I beg Nigerians to be patient. Let us see the outcome of these elections in the court. But then I will go a step further to say that going forward, I want to see a situation where we will amend our legislation so that
make provisions for that, because they say
before May 29th,
there's a window. There's a window that all electoral issues must be concluded before even the swearing in.
No, there's nothing like that. Normally, when you start, it's 180 days. If you look at 180 days from now to May 29, that's far more than that. Yes. But they have what you call the pre-election and the post-election. The pre-elections are those one deal with primaries and all that. That one substantially has been concluded across the country because primaries had like 6 months back. I was fortunate to do a matter from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and up to the Supreme Court for pre-election matter. actually concluded before the election. But the election itself, it can't be concluded before May 29th, because of course people have to respond to settle before swearing of any other person that declared a candidate or a winner of an election.
Okay, now let's talk about something. I know that our caller Sonny from Benin actually made mention of something very, very important when he talked about systemic failure. Now, whatever we are saying and doing today is as a result of this systemic failures that have happened. So little things that we've been doing over time, and just like you said, no punitive measures given to these things have brought us to where we are today. How do we now begin to, I would say, unmask some of the things that we have done, which is those little mistakes that we have done and overlooked? How we even talk about the lessons we have learned so far? Because I think that Nigerians forget a lot. So if we're saying that we have learned lessons from this particular elections, 4 years down the line, we'll be going to the polls again to have another elections. The same mistakes we have done this 2023 elections will be repeated in 2027.
And just to embellish that just a little bit, we're having a conversation this morning how that elections had happened on the 18th of March for certain gubernatorial states and were declared inconclusive in the likes of Adamawa and Kebbi, and so we had supplementary elections. Because of violence and other related issues, those elections were declared inconclusive. We spent money, went around to conduct the elections again, and yet again announced null and void. Where are we missing the lessons, in between all of this, just to embellish?
We are not punishing people that are offending the state. That's the straight answer. But come to how we can do it differently.
Yeah.
A manager is as good as a management team. In this country, we always talk about politics. We'll not talk about governance. In other clime, maybe we'll talk about let's call out UK, because these are colonial masters. The days, of course, some people will keep arguing that they are still control the Commonwealth, so we are still technically under them. That's why almost every clime, people don't really care whether you come from the Labour Party or the Democrat or the Republican. What they know that there's a better politics, So we do not have that kind of system. We always have that, okay, Mr. A is elected or comes into power, he does whatever he wants to do, and off it goes. And then you bring another person, it takes us back to square one. For instance, the Commissioner for Works in Akwa Ibom State to say, okay, look, we need to get the Spectrum road done. You need to push for that, do a memo, and justify it. Otherwise, if you just wait for the governor, for instance, you may not even know what is happening. Who brings this signal that you must get elected? You must have to show interest. After elections, most Nigerians go back to their businesses. How do we follow up with those elected officials? What happens? So once we're interested, and that's where the institutions have to work. Once the institutions work, we'll get the country going.
Now, even talking about accountability, do we have a situation where we have mechanisms that provides for citizens to begin to account, hold their leaders accountable?
A public commission to chartermans in the country. There's Institute of Foreign Affairs. Of course, we're in the country that out there, I think some of us are globally recognized. But when you come home here, they'll look at you and like, if you want to get this thing, let's do the right thing. People look at you. No, it's not done. This jackpot syndrome is because we don't have that enabling environment. If this enabling environment is created by government, governance to me is as simple as I am dressed. It's not something complex. You are basically to provide the enabling environment for people to strive. And what's the essence of governance? Is to provide security and provide and you are interested about the welfare, the platform for the welfare of the people. It's nothing so complex about it. But I can tell you that it's more individualistic in Nigeria. There's no when you are elected a governor or a president, or whether the head of the judiciary or head of the legislature, you think you know it all. You don't expect anybody to criticize you. You want to be praised 24 hours. That's what we have. We're supposed to have critical engagement. We're supposed to have a town hall approach. No, I know. See, policies of government in Nigeria should be drawn from the people. For instance, in your office in Abuja or in any government office, and then decide to do whatever you want to do for the people, you need to go back to the people and discuss with them. How do we go about it? There are little resources. What is the catchment area of development that we need? These are very simple things. There's nothing so different between other climate and Nigeria. But here, we are almost practically prevented from participating in governance. Participation are all sorts of things. Now, participation in other climate is working to possibly walk into the governor's office or the local government chairman and have an engagement. And it's very easy to see these persons. Without pride, I sit among heads of government, and sometimes I'm like, is this the president of Colombia I'm sitting with? And it's very difficult to even see my own president. Or even the governor, depends on how close you are. It shouldn't be that case. When you have this engagement, constant engagement with people, I can tell you, okay, look at the insecurity we are having. I have consulted for outgone at the national level, and one of the key areas to development is the local government system, because most times you should have the local government chairman of this area that you can walk to. If the local government system is effective, you don't even need to see the governor or or the president. So if we get the local government system right, where there's engagement with the people and policies are drawn and articulated, that's great.
It's going to be difficult to get it right, because governors are wanting the monies, the allocations of the local government for their personal interest, and then they go and pick those people, and not even the consensus agreement, of the indigenes of that particular local government area. They are handpicked.
Let me tell you the intriguing aspect. There's been this constitutional amendment that was ongoing, and then there was proposal for the autonomy for local governments. I tell you, most states voted against it. I agree with you. That is the truth. Let's not sugarcoat anything, because the House of Assembly of States, with the greatest respect, most states are controlled by what the governor dictates.
Exactly.
Now, somebody said, I want to give you freedom to explore. You are now an adult. And you say, no, please don't give me freedom. Give me whatever you want to give me. That's what basically happened. And that's why I say I find it very intriguing and amusing that Nigerian doctors, I mean, my work is more appreciated when I'm outside this country. That's the truth about it.
And that continues to fill
the
gap.
It's very tempting coming back to this country always. But this is my country. I cannot run away from it. This is my country.
We have a very few people like you.
Yes, we need to be in this country to develop this country. That is the truth about it. I feel like it's a classicity anytime I'm in the US, UK, for instance. Even as privileged as I am to be a member of the Chatham House, and of course, I've had a engagement with the Nigerian High Commission. I still feel
to the extent.
But when the environment is so toxic that good people are always pushed away. But if we want to get it right, what I would like to know, the team, permit me to use this word. All of us, we don't chop breakfast, because
Nigeria has sent us breakfast.
For international audience, I hope you understand. The breakfast means that all of us are now in the position that, look, what we're running away from is not here. Funny. It's not everybody that have that privilege. I must tell us. So now, even if we don't take it, if we're not careful, even the so-called air traffic will be security risk. And that's why, with all greatest respect, with the respect to my constituency, the judiciary has to be up and doing.
Okay, so let's, in the few minutes that we have, we want to look at if there's any possible lessons we've learned in all of this, because we're going to go back to business as usual. Until we come again, people start campaigning our faces and we start asking questions that are too late. What are the lessons that you think we should have, drawn out of this just concluded election cycle?
Well, it's very clear. I think even with my activity as a law reform commission, I don't think we have persons. Now, if you want to appoint somebody commissioner for works, the person, for instance, should know the environment very well, apart from other qualification. Now, if you appoint person commissioner for works and he does not know this terrain, I want to use this, my friend, the governor, to have a way that, okay, but that's why I think people have to do those presentations. For instance, so that basically when you're forming government, you are not going to look at people that actually supported you throughout to be elected. You look at technocrats. That's why governance is different from politics. Look, if you now want to say, okay, this person is the person that made you to win a particular polling unit, and it doesn't, when basically he knows nothing about it, or you bring somebody to be different ministries. Well, my friend who was the minister of agriculture is now ADB president. So you have them. You have those kind of persons that will give your government credibility. Like I tell some of my friends, I say, if you want truth, you must bring people that will deliver and have a legacy. Of course, what we have mostly in this country, either at the state level or the presidential level, you want people that will precede you, will always say, if you want something, and that's why I said, where we have gotten to that we can no longer travel on our road. It's because of failure of governance. That is the truth about it. that okay, it was happening in Meduguri, we all kept quiet. It started coming down, and now up to even my village, you cannot stay with your eyes closed.
Corner
The
the
time is
other
already
day.
gone.
Yes, time is
Wow,
gone.
we cannot long this discussion.
When Citizen Matthew O'Connor said when we were talking about what happened in Port Harcourt, where traditionalists came out party. So if their party wins, definitely the
They'll say-
governor or whoever it is they were trying to fight for is obliged to give them some kind of
Stake in the
position,
government.
of course, stake in the government. So situation where even the process was rigged, it was marred by a lot of irregularities. When you go into power, you're trying to also give back to the people that worked for you. So governance in Nigeria. But this is where we can actually go for the conversations this morning. It's been a great time on set today. I want to say a very big thank you to all those that called in. Tony Eze from Benue, and of course Sonny from Benin CC. Thank you to Sir Leonard Anyogo for being on set with us this morning. It's been a great pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Great delight, great conversation this morning. Big thank you to our production team for putting on a really great breakfast show this Monday morning. 4 days to go. Great conversations, a great Nigeria. Like we'd always say, God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My name is